Barney Saunders. Hannah Eltringham Whitfield has spoken about the frequent headaches she experienced while in the Sea Org, and how these eventually disappeared after she left. I think that this must be part of the body's defensive mechanisms. It makes perfect sense that if a person is under constant and intense stress, the mind will initiate pain. Defending the body from threats and harm is the original function and evolutionary purpose of pain, to force the person to extricate himself or herself from a situation of danger, which in this case is constant and extreme stress. There's a section in Steve Hassan's first book, Combating Cult Mind Control, where he argues that within the mind of a cult member, there is a struggle of two selves, between the cult self and the original self, where something of the original self that has, deep down, survived and still resides in the mind, but which struggles to make itself heard, only occasionally surfacing. I know that this is in large part an analogy to simplify and aid understanding, but I'm curious to know your opinion on how you see these episodes of pain experienced by cult members as indicative of a struggle between the cult self and the original self, for example. Did you experience unexplained, that is, with no obvious physical cause such as injury, and chronic pain while you were in the Sea Org that you can retrospectively attribute to an ongoing inner struggle between your original and cult selves, or at least your body's physical/psychological defenses? Okay, Barney, that was an involved question. Thank you for that. And I wanted to take this up because I wanted to comment on some aspects of this. First off, I think I broke down last week or the week before my idea of this cult self and inner, original self, and how this is very much just an analogy of convenience. It's not that your brain has different sections that are divided up this way, and you've got your old person as this little guy or this little voice in your head, and then you have your new self. It's a way more complicated than that, but it is a convenient way of framing the idea that you have older values prior to the totalist environment's values. Those are there, and those are baseline. This is how you were raised. This is the moral principles and guidelines you were given, etc. And then there is the cult self, which is the new set of rules and now we're supposed to's and double binds and other things that you get in the whole belief set. All of that kind of lays in, and that's newer material, and it has to go in over the top and integrate with that old material, and sometimes they don't integrate so well. So it's an interesting mix and of nonsense and pre-nonsense and all kinds of stuff that goes on in people's heads. And this is very complicated stuff, so we try to make it simpler by just saying, look, there's an old self and a new self. As far as the pain thing, I can't say for sure, and I'm hesitant to confirm or totally agree with the idea that physical pain would be a natural consequence or experience from stress. Stress can come out in many, many ways, and certainly physical pain could be one of them. Headaches, migraine, headache kind of things could be stress-induced. Of course they could, or anxiety-induced. And it could well be that Hannah's experience was one of stress-induced headaches, and once the stress kind of got off a bit, she chilled out and stopped having the headaches. Very, very, very reasonable explanation for what happened there. But there could be other explanations too. And I'm, not knowing a whole lot about medicine and the psychiatry or psychology of pain management. I'm just commenting sort of flyby on that. Okay. So don't take anything I say as authoritative on that matter. But I will say that I know a little bit about stress and trauma, and stress and trauma are powerful motivators and powerful influencers in our body. And they are whole body experiences. It's not just something that exists in your brain. Your whole body's involved. And I think there's a book called Your Body Keeps the Score about this exact thing, right? And how trauma can be re-experienced in lots of different ways. So very much so that this could be part of that process. I would differentiate that, though, from I don't see that really being related to the concept of the prior self and cult self. I think stress inducement or anxiety inducement can be done regardless of the personality factors involved. It has to do with time stresses, and money or finance stresses, and and power stresses, where you're exerting power or dominance over somebody else, making them do things, making them behave certain ways, act certain ways, do certain jobs, etc. So you have that kind of influence or force over somebody, and it can induce a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of problems. And over time, your body is just exhausting its own resources because of this, because stress and trauma have to do something with the energy level of your body and where the body is directing the energy. And it's like trying to solve problems that can't be solved or are bound in these double binds that it's a catch-22 situation. There is no solution, but you're supposed to find a solution and you're stuck. It's devil in the deep blue sea. You're trapped. And when you're in that kind of a place, mentally and physically, for extended periods of time, it's exhausting. You just burn through your body's energy budget or resources very, very quickly. And what generally tends to happen in cultic groups is there's food and sleep deprivation. So the energy, the batteries in your body, so to speak, don't ever fully recharge, and you're just draining them faster, and you're actually reducing your efficiency, your ability to think, your ability to critically think, for sure. And this wears down your body. It just wears it out faster, is really the best way I can put it. And so of course, chronic pain, physical pain can absolutely result from this. And that's just kind of how we know that stuff works. How it works exactly, we don't necessarily know, but that it happens and that this does occur with people, we absolutely know. So I just don't really make the connection, Barney, in your question between the cult self or the original self and this factor. I think that what we're talking about with these pains and stresses is we're really just kind of more talking about the environmental stresses or environmental pressures and the effect that's going to have on a body over an extended period of time. So I don't know. That's how I think about that, at least, and I'm having a hard time thinking about it any other way. So that's my best response to your question.